Hello, I'm Samantha Jolie. It's 4 o'clock and these are our top stories in Perth this afternoon. The search for answers after a toddler's tragic death. His father meeting now with hospital staff. The emotional tribute from Michael Mosley's widow after his body is found in Greece. West Australians recognised in the King's Birthday Honours list. A tourist on a rampage comes to a crashing end at a Bali airport. And the Stars making a splash in the Big Freeze. Good afternoon. The heartbroken father of a Perth toddler who died from undiagnosed leukaemia is meeting with executives at Joondalup Health Campus now as we go to air. 21-month-old Shan Diap Dar died suddenly on March 24 after his family spent weeks seeking help for a long-running mild fever. They wanted to know why their son's illness wasn't picked up despite desperate pleas for the hospital to conduct tests.
We just want my son should get the justice, and as a family we deserve that.
Leading blood cancer expert Dr. Catherine Cole told 7 News there appeared to be opportunities where a diagnosis could have been made sooner. Coming up at 4:30, we'll have an update on the meeting which is underway now at the Joondalup Health Campus. A Mandurah mother is finding it difficult after being charged with a crash which caused the death of her twin daughters. Rachel Van Ooyen didn't appear in Northern Court today. A magistrate was told she's struggling with the whole process. The matter was adjourned until August so she can seek legal advice. Police say the 31-year-old was driving carelessly when she crashed into a tree in Carrabin in February. The trio was making its way back to Perth after visiting family in Kalgoorlie. It was the news his family and fans were dreading. The body of Dr. Michael Mosley was found amongst rocks on the Greek island of Symi. The popular doctor who devoted his time on TV to extending the life of others had lost his own life at the age 67. His wife Claire, supported by their children, says it is devastating to have lost Michael. Our Europe correspondent Joel Dry reports.
The sad confirmation was made this morning that the body of 67-year-old television doctor Michael Mosley had been found on the Greek island of Symi. It had been a wide-span search for 5 days, but in the end it was a television news crew on a boat filming a hillside that spotted the body on the fence line just metres from a popular, frequented beachside resort. The news was passed on to his family, who just yesterday had issued a statement saying they were not giving up hope. Today, Claire, sadly, his wife, had to reissue a statement confirming the loss, saying it's devastating. We have lost Michael, my wonderful, funny, kind and brilliant husband. My family and I have been hugely comforted by the outpouring of love from people from around the world. It's clear that Michael meant a huge amount to so many of you. He was a really well-known figure here in the UK, featuring on a lot of television programs, often advocating a healthier lifestyle. He was also the founder of the 5-2 diet, something well picked up in Australia in particular. The body will now be taken to a neighbouring island. It will undergo a post-mortem examination to try to work out exactly what the cause of death was and why he was able to make it so close to assistance, but sadly not quite make it.
Former political leaders, musicians and medical specialists are among the more than 700 Australians recognised in the King's Birthday Honours list today. Jessica Page joins us now. Jess, many have been recognised for their efforts during the pandemic, including Mark McGowan.
Yeah, Sam, he's one of 6 Australians named Companions of the Order of Australia. That is the top honour for his service to state parliament, public health and education and to international trade relations. Of course, Mark McGowan is best known nationally as WA's COVID Premier. His hardline approach was hugely popular here at the time. Mr McGowan retired from politics last March and has preferred to stay out of the spotlight since then, but in a statement today, he thanked his family and he says he is very humbled, honoured and grateful to the people of WA.
I think people recognise his capability, his hard work, his experience, but also his determination to make hard decisions in a difficult time. And this award is a recognition of that.
Of course, you can't please everyone. Senator Pauline Hanson says Mark McGowan and former Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews should be facing a royal commission, not royal honours. She missed out, but other noteworthy winners include incoming Governor-General Samantha Mosley, cricket legend and McGrath Foundation founder Glenn McGrath, Perth sailor Len Randall as well, and also Perth Children's Hospital infectious diseases boss Asher Bowen.
It is quite a genuinely lovely award to receive because someone's nominated you, don't know who that is, and you're amongst these amazing Australians. COVID gave us a huge opportunity to learn about how to engage in and manage pandemics. I spent most of my time during COVID advocating for the rights and opportunities of children because children were really forgotten. They weren't prioritised in any of our decision making, and that's not something that we can ever do again.
She's now on a mission to save kids' lives by protecting their skin. Hear more on that in the news at 6. And Sam, anyone can nominate for the list. I'll explain how.
OK, thanks, Jess. Lots of worthy winners. The state and federal governments are pouring more than $70 million into training recruits for the renewable energy industry. Jeff Parry has the details.
Good afternoon. Governments are betting the bank on the transition to renewable energy. For that, they'll have to build a highly skilled workforce that doesn't exist yet. Plans are in the pipeline for the total switch to renewable energy by 2050. Wind and solar, battery and green hydrogen, some in their infancy. The government will train a workforce to grow with them.
It will ensure that we are supplying skills in the clean energy sector. This is absolutely vital for Australia's future. We want to be seen as a clean energy superpower. This state certainly wants to be seen that way. I'd like to see our country be a clean energy superpower.
Hundreds of millions of dollars of projects are mapped out over the next 25 years. WA will establish the first TAFE Clean Energy Skills Centre of Excellence starting at South Metro TAFE in Munster, not far from the Kwinana Energy Hub. Trades that have been earmarked for the industry include mechanical, plumbing, machining and electrical.
It's estimated that we will need somewhere between 30 and 40,000 new workers, just electricians alone.
The government will also know soon if its negotiations to reverse last year's cuts to the skilled migration list have been successful. More in the news at 6.
Thank you, Jeff. If you've driven along Mitchell Freeway in recent days, you may have noticed an enormous steel structure hanging over the road near Innaloo. It's a precarious-looking project, but it's no cause for panic. The Stevenson Avenue Bridge is being slowly pushed out over moving traffic one piece at a time. James Carmody shows us how.
Good afternoon. I'm in Perth's north next to the Mitchell Freeway, and commuters coming along the freeway here every day will soon start to notice something jutting out overhead as they come under in cars or coming along the train. What it is the Stevenson Avenue extension, a bridge slowly being built and extended out across the freeway. Now, it might look precarious for commuters as they pass underneath, but we're told it's a tried and tested and safe method, and it'll actually mean less disruption for commuters because the bridge can be built over the top of them without having to stop any traffic. So the way it works is they pour giant concrete slabs like this, one at a time in a section about that big, and then once it's poured and ready to go, over the course of about a day, they slowly slide it out over the freeway and they'll join up and it'll soon go over the other side. Now, with everything going to plan, it's hoped that this project will be complete by the end of the year. In 7 News at 6, we'll bring you more on how this will work and also on some other things that will be introduced along the freeway in this section shortly.
There was no shortage of star power on show this morning, with Australia's best swimmers beginning their quest for the Paris Olympics. But the swimming trials are cutthroat and plenty of young guns are ready to cause an upset. Chris Reason is there.
Good afternoon. Day one, heat one of the trials here in Brisbane, and the race for Paris led off by Olympic champion Ariarne Titmus, leading a string of superstars with the potential to make history.
In the 400 freestyle heat, Arnie cruised through to a comfortable finish, as did our most medalled Olympian Emma McKeon in the 100 fly. In 5 heats, we saw 4 Olympic champions, including backstroke superstar Kaylee McEwen in the 200 medley, although 19-year-old Ella Ramsey actually bettered limited her time. Young guns applying the pressure, like Sam Williamson's blistering 100-metre breaststroke, seeing our World 200 champion Zach Stubblety Cook clock the 4th fastest time. The pressure is on.
Yeah, they got a bit away from me on that first 50 and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, pretty stoked, not bad for the morning. In Olympic trials, you just get way more nervous about everything, being safe on the start, not going to make it through, you know, that type of thing.
The men's heats in the 400 free ended the session with Elijah Winnington almost 3 seconds on Sam Shaw.
Tonight the finals begin to lock in the first positions on this Australian team with under 50 days to go until the games begin.
This is 7's afternoon news. Coming up, Donald Trump hits the campaign trail. The former president's first rally as a convicted felon. Plus, a tourist wild ride in Bali comes to a crashing end at the airport.
Building a bridge over the Mitchell Freeway while the cars keep moving underneath. Perth's newest engineering marvel. Tonight on 7 News.
You're watching 7's 4 p.m. news live from Perth. Right now it is 18 degrees in the city and the forecast is coming up soon. Police are on the hunt for a vandal who took a hammer to the windows of the US consulate in Sydney. The attack occurred around 3 o'clock this morning. 13 holes were punched through the glass and pro-Palestinian graffiti was spray painted onto the consulate's crest. A person wearing a dark hoodie and carrying a small sledgehammer was captured by security cameras. Donald Trump's campaign for the White House is back in full swing and, if anything, his recent conviction appears to have energised his loyal supporters. He threw a huge crowd at a rally in the key battleground state of Nevada. Tim Lester reports from Las Vegas.
For presidential candidate Donald Trump, an early test of how the criminal conviction in New York has affected his popularity. In terms of his supporter base, it seems to have only fired them up.
USA! USA!
Yeah, he's going to win, and if he doesn't, then it's rigged.
Donald Trump wants to bring America back to its glory, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise, including fake media.
Mr. Trump seemed miffed after about 15 minutes when his teleprompter failed.
The only thing that pisses me off are the teleprompters. I got no teleprompter. You know, I pay all this money to teleprompter people, and I'd say 20% of the time they don't work.
He had this to say about the hundreds of Americans prosecuted for their role in the January 6th riot back when he was last president.
But those J6 warriors, they were warriors, but they were really more than anything else. They're victims of what happened. All they were doing is protesting a rigged election.
As well, this attack on President Joe Biden.
He's a corrupt, very dumb person. He's a low IQ individual, and he always was.
But interestingly, Donald Trump did not mention his new status, convicted felon. It seems to have dented his popularity perhaps a little in polls, but he still leads Joe Biden. Americans are due to vote at the beginning of November.
French President Macron has dissolved Parliament, calling a snap election. He made the announcement after his coalition party was trounced by the far-right National Rally Party in the country's EU election. Voters will head to the polls later this month. It's a high-risk political gamble for Macron, less than 2 months out from the Paris Olympics. There was chaos on the streets of Bali when a British man allegedly hijacked a truck full of rice plants and began speeding towards the airport. Local police say he forced the driver out of his rig and struck several motorcyclists during his chaotic drive. He also slammed into a toll road barrier. He was eventually arrested by airport security staff and handed over to police. It's hard to believe looking at our own property market, but there's a village in Italy where homes are virtually being given away. A dozen houses are about to go on sale for as little as $3 Australian in Sambuca de Sicilia. The fire sale is part of a trend as dwindling towns try to lure back residents. And it's proven successful. Previous sales have injected more than $20 million into the local economy. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been sworn in for a historic third consecutive term in the top job. Modi and his cabinet ministers took the oath of office at India's presidential palace in New Delhi after a relatively disappointing result for Modi's Hindu Nationalist Party. They've been forced into a coalition for the first time in a decade. Ahead this news hour, the government launches a multi-million-dollar advertising blitz on the dangers of vaping and smoking. And the Big Freeze sees the stars making a splash at the MCG in the fight against a killer disease. Ryan Daniels joins us out. Ryan, good news for Fremantle.
That's right, Sam. Coming off a big win, then a week off, and now a star defender is nearing a return. We'll have all the details straight after the break. Plus, Spanish King Alcaraz creates history as he prevails at the French Open. And chaos at the Canadian Grand Prix as Mad Max gets the job done.
Know the headlines as they break. Know the stories as they happen. With 7news.com.au, know the news now.
Fremantle defender Brennan Cox is closing in on a return to footy after missing the last 11 games with a hamstring injury. Cox has a chance to play managed minutes in the WAFL this weekend.
It's been tough for him. He spent a lot of time in the cross-training room and getting to work, but his application to that and his strength program and everything, he's a better athlete for it, and now it's about getting back out in the field and getting into footy. So a few things to tick off this week, hopefully, and might see some minutes this week.
The Dockers hit the training track this morning following last week's bye. They faced the Western Bulldogs at Marble Stadium on Saturday. There was a clear theme at the 10th Big Freeze game at the MCG today, raising money for motor neuron disease research. 9 celebrities dressed as singers took the plunge into icy water, including Olympic gold medalist Mac Horton.
There goes Peter Garrett from Midnight Oil, used to the pool, not so big this one, and he's come up doing all of the moves.
Collingwood dominated the Kings' birthday clash, beating Melbourne by 48 points. In a blow for the Demons, star Christian Petrarca was taken to hospital after he was knocked in the ribs in this contest with Darcy Moore. Remarkably, he played on before being subbed off at half-time. Pies star Nick Dacos was also subbed off, but says it was precautionary after he copped a knock to the shin. Carlos Alcaraz has assumed the throne of Rafael Nadal at Roland Garros. The 21-year-old Spaniard defeated Alexander Zverev in a 5-set French Open final. Alcaraz
who have won this tournament and be able to put my name on that amazing list is...
Win Grand Slam titles on all 3 surfaces. India and Pakistan treated the USA to cricket's great rivalry at the T20 World Cup. A packed New York crowd roared as Virat Kohli fell for just 4.
That's in the air, taken straight to point, and it's straight down his throat.
India collapsed to be all out for 119, but the great Jasprit Bumrah saved them, taking 3 for 14 to get India home by 6 runs and keep Pakistan winless. India are 2 wins from 2 games. Oscar Piastri missed out on back-to-back podiums in a wild Canadian Grand Prix. Sergio Perez forced a late safety car after hitting the wall as Piastri jumped into 3rd. The Aussies' podium hopes were dashed by a collision with George Russell.
As into the chicane they go, and there's contact between Russell and Piastri.
Piastri slid below both Lewis Hamilton and Russell into 5th as Max Verstappen claimed his 6th win of the season. West Aussie Daniel Ricciardo dropped from 5th to 8th after an early 5-second penalty for a false start. Aussie surfer Jack Robinson returned to world number 2 despite losing in the quarterfinals of the El Salvador Pro.
But he's got to watch because the Yago show is on.
Whoa! How's this rotation? It's huge, Chris. Huge!
John Florence won the final to lead the rankings with 2 contests left before the top 5 finals. Carolyn Marks beat Gabriella Bryan in the women's final. How's that, Carlos Alcaraz, Sam? He's the next big thing in tennis, I'm telling you.
He's amazing, isn't he?
He sure is. That's all from me for now. Plenty more at 6.
All right, we'll see you then. Thanks, Ryan. Up next on 7's Afternoon News, the latest as the heartbroken parents of a little boy meet hospital staff. Could the tragedy have been avoided? That's ahead. Plus, new turmoil at Channel 9 calls for another resignation. And the warning to parents over kids on social media, the expert who says it can harm young brains.
7 News knows Perth.
Headlines flash by all day.
But to know the news, watch 7 News at 6 o'clock.
And here's why.
Our reporters are newsbreakers.
The man in the back of that police car was arrested right here on the side of busy Belia Drive.
With more exclusive reports.
That dig deeper.
And demand answers.
We commit to travel to wherever the stories happen, even the front line.
Chris Reason from Channel 7 Australia.
As international news unfolds in Europe.
We're live to you at 6 p.m.
Breaking down the global issues that matter back home in Perth. 7 News understands that
our reporters travel from suburb to suburb.
It happened at Point Walter
and across our state to bring you the news.
This show only in Joondalup.
This is the team we trust.
And thank you
for trusting 7 News.
Hello, you're watching 7's Afternoon News live from Perth. Here are the top stories. A father is meeting hospital staff after the death of his little boy. The tragic search for answers. Dr. Michael Mosley's wife has paid tribute to him after his body was found on the Greek island where he went missing. Former Premier Mark McGowan recognised in the King's birthday honours. And the government is to spend $70 million to boost training for the transition to green energy. An overcast start to the working week and we could get some showers tomorrow. I'll have your forecast later this hour. Returning to our top story this hour, and the family of a 21-month-old toddler who died at Joondalup Health Campus is meeting with hospital staff. Shandiap Dar died suddenly on March 24 after his family spent weeks seeking help for a long-running mild fever. His father is meeting now with staff. He spoke to 7 News as he arrived.
We just want my son should get the justice, and as a family we deserve it.
The meeting is still going. We'll have more details in 7 News at 6. There's more turmoil at Nine Entertainment, with the company's CEO now under pressure to resign. Former chairman Peter Costello avoided the cameras today after he sensationally quit the board.
Good afternoon. The resignation statement of the Nine chairman was sent to newsrooms just before 6 last night, ending days of mounting pressure on Peter Costello amid calls for him to step down. It follows an altercation between the former treasurer and journalist from The Australian, Liam Mendes, at Canberra Airport a few days ago.
You've just assaulted me.
In the statement, Costello listed his achievements at Nine, including the acquisition of Masthead, the Sydney Morning Herald, in which an editorial by Elizabeth Knight was published this morning. She wrote, "If the Nine board believes that sacrificing Costello will remove the turbulence, they may be disappointed." Costello reaffirmed his support for CEO Mike Sneesby, who's also under enormous pressure during an internal review into toxic culture and misogyny at Nine. Sneesby signed off on a fat payout to former news director Darren Wick, who triggered the culture review. Catherine West will replace Costello and is the first woman to lead a publicly listed Australian media company. She has 25 years' experience in the industry and will need all of it to weather this storm.
There's been an outpouring of grief after a body found on a Greek island was confirmed to be missing TV doctor Michael Mosley. His death all the more tragic given help was only around 100 metres away. His wife has led tributes to her funny, kind and brilliant husband.
It was on this rocky hillside on the Greek island of Symi that the body of Michael Mosley lay undiscovered since Wednesday afternoon. He appears to have collapsed after setting off from the nearby town of Peddy on a walk, carrying his umbrella for protection from the sun as temperatures hit 40 degrees. He was so close to safety, his body found behind this fence on a steep part of the hill, less than 100 metres away from a busy beach bar. His wife and the couple's 4 adult children had been anxiously waiting for news on the island during the 5-day search. Today, Claire Bailey-Mosley says, "We're taking comfort in the fact that he so very nearly made it. He did an incredible climb, took the wrong route and collapsed where he couldn't be easily seen by the extensive search team. Michael was an adventurous man. It's part of what made him so special."
Hi, we're just at the Hay Festival.
Just a fortnight ago, the couple were out together promoting their work on health and fitness.
Here to explain more is Dr. Michael Mosley. Thank you for joining us.
Lovely to be here.
Michael Mosley was a well-known face on television, educating the nation about staying well.
You'll probably think to yourself, but surely the vegetable fats are much healthier. But are they?
Today, many are paying tribute to the TV doctor and author. Jamie Oliver says he did such a lot of good for public health with his TV shows and often changed the conversation around many public health issues. Professor Alice Roberts, who co-presented with Dr. Mosley, says the fragility of life is so shocking. I can't believe he's gone. Former politician Tom Watson, who credits Dr. Mosley with helping him lose weight, says Michael Mosley has helped thousands of people get well and healthy. I'm one of them. He was a hero to me.
He made science and health accessible to all. We're really going to feel his absence now, because there is no one else like Michael. There is no one else in broadcasting, in science, a science communicator like no other.
Michael Mosley's body is being taken to Rhodes Hospital this evening, where doctors will work to establish the exact cause of death.
New vision has emerged of the dramatic raid by the Israeli military that freed 4 hostages being held by Hamas in the Gaza Strip. But one of the Prime Minister's biggest rivals has apologised to the families whose loved ones are still being held hostage and quit the government.
Tonight, new video of Israel's brazen daylight raid that rescued 4 hostages from the Gaza Strip. These images, provided by Israel's military, shows soldiers leading 2 of the hostages to freedom and then flying them back to their families in a jubilant Israel. Soldiers' body cam video also showing the intense battle on the ground. One high-profile captive, Noah Agarmani, finally met her mother, who's dying of terminal cancer. And Andrei Kozlov falls to his knees when he sees his mother for the first time. Israelis celebrated one of their few successful hostage rescues. But back in Gaza, Palestinians are mourning their dead and picking up pieces of their shattered homes.
We have nothing to do with Hamas. I was taking breakfast with my family here. Why you send the helicopter to bomb us?
This woman said Israeli forces killed both her sons in the raid. I don't have anyone else but them. I only have them, she said. God is my witness. My son is 8 years old. The second one is 12 years old. Children. What's their fault? Back in Israel, this rare victory didn't heal the political fractures dividing the government. Benny Gantz, a former defense minister, just announced his resignation from Israel's war cabinet. He slammed Netanyahu, who he said was blocking Israel from, quote, real victory. And he apologized to the remaining hostages' families, saying the government had failed to bring them home.
Still to come this hour, the advertising blitz targeting vapes and cigarettes. What doctors want you to know. Find out after the break.
Know the headlines as they break. Know the stories as they happen. With 7news.com.au, know the news now.
A new advertising campaign is warning that addiction to vaping can creep up on you. The federal government is urging users to kick the habit as they prepare to ban some vaping products and close down the market. Political reporter Ben Downey reports from Canberra.
This is the first time the government's had public advertisements against vaping, the first time it's used TikTok, and the first time in a decade it's campaigned against smoking. There are multiple advertisements targeted at children and adults showing how vaping can creep up on you in a literal sense, depicting children vaping in secret and adults being pulled away by the invisible hand of addiction. It's costing $63.4 million to roll out the Give Up for Good campaign, which will be across all platforms, particularly social media, recruiting influencers and even popping up inside video games, pushing people towards beefed up support services like Quitline and clinical professionals, posing questions like this.
When did it become compulsive? Necessary even.
Maybe it's time to ask. Why are we still doing this?
I am absolutely determined to drive the vaping industry out of this country, but I'm just as determined to help individual Australians quit the habit.
Having a campaign that's aimed around social media, things like TikTok and so on, that's where young Australians are looking for information. So it's a really great idea and we support this.
The government's vape laws go before the Senate this month, and the government is confident the national ban will pass. That's despite the Nationals opposing it and the Liberals and Greens undecided.
Forget about square eyes. Too much social media can actually make children's brains shrink. That's the warning from one of the country's top screen addiction experts, Macquarie University professor Wayne Warburton. He suggested social media does not activate all parts of the brain, which over time could lead to those areas shrinking. In particular, areas linked to abstract thinking, managing emotion and focus. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has launched a scathing attack on opposition leader Peter Dutton for planning to ditch a crucial climate goal at the next election. He also accused Mr Dutton of being worse than his predecessor Scott Morrison on climate change.
Peter Dutton is walking away from climate action. His decision to abandon the 2030 target means him walking away from the Paris Accord. If you walk away from the Paris Accord, you'll be standing with Libya, Yemen and Iran and against all of our major trading partners and all of our important allies. Peter Dutton is worse than Scott Morrison on climate change. He is all negativity and no plan. And what we've seen now for 2 years under Peter Dutton is a reluctance to announce any policies.
We won't be giving Twiggy Forrest billions of dollars for his hydrogen pipe dream. We'll underpin manufacturing by addressing the fundamentals, which is reliable, affordable power and proper industrial relations policy.
Motorists on the Mitchell Freeway will soon start to notice thousands of tonnes of concrete hanging just overhead when they pass near Stirling Station and Innaloo. The Stevenson Avenue Bridge is being slowly built above moving traffic. James Carmody caught up with those in charge of the delicate engineering exercise.
Good afternoon. I'm next to the Mitchell Freeway here at the Stevenson Avenue Extension Project, and joining me is Construction Manager Bill Stewart. Bill, tell me a little about this bridge project.
So to put it simply, we're incrementally launching this bridge, which means we're constructing the bridge segments here on this side of the Mitchell Freeway. So what we do is we drop the reinforcement in and then we pour the concrete for the section. Once it's reached the required strength, we actually push the bridge segment out. Essentially, we're sliding the sections along near frictionless surfaces, and that's aided by these jacks, large jacks over there, which actually pull and then push the segment across. Every 10 to 15 days, a section of bridge will be cast, which will mean that the bridge will extend out another 20 metres. And we do that 4 times for each span, and there's 3 spans, so it's 12 launches in total. And then we stitch the bridge together to form one whole bridge.
And if things go to plan, it could be finished sometime late this year?
In terms of this bridge, we're looking at getting the launching done by the end of this year, weather permitting, and then hopefully getting the approach roads done just soon after that.
Bill, thanks so much for your time. In 7 News at 6, we'll bring you more on how smart freeway infrastructure will also make the commute smoother and how an extra lane from Hodges Drive is cutting down travel time for commuters coming from the north.
Hollywood legend Dick Van Dyke has made history, becoming the oldest person ever to win a Daytime Emmy Award. At 98, he collected his trophy for a guest stint on the soap opera Days of Our Lives. He looked completely shocked when he was announced as the winner. He also surprised fans on the red carpet by busting out some dance moves and proving he's still got plenty of pep in his step. There were thrills, spills and certainly chills this afternoon as sporting stars, including Nick Naitanui, took on the Big Freeze at the MCG. AFL great Neil Danaher is aiming to raise $3 million to find treatments and a cure for motor neuron disease, with the event now in its 10th year.
There is a sea of blue beanies here at the MCG. Over the past 10 years, the Big Freeze at the G has raised $97 million to fight MND, inspired by Neil Danaher, who is battling the disease and started this incredible movement a decade ago. They are hoping to raise $3 million today, which will put the total over the $100 million mark. The theme of this year's Big Freeze at the G was rock stars. 112 sliders have bravely taken the plunge over the past decade, and today for 9 stars of the sporting world, it was their turn. Tennis legend Pat Rafter dressed as Brian Johnson from AC/DC, while Olympic swimmer Mac Horton made a convincing Peter Garrett from Midnight Oil. The temperature of that pool is an icy 1 degree, chilled with 2,000 kilograms of ice, but these sporting stars didn't mind.
I thought I retired, I got rid of doing ice bars, but back into it was nice and cool, it was awesome.
I was so terrified, but I'm so glad I did it, and it's a huge honour to be here.
Such an amazing cause. I've watched it every year on TV, obviously go for the Ds as well, so there's a connection there.
It's incredible, just Neil's been able to just rally a whole country to fight this beast.
I think he's a fantastic human being, and I hope that he is proud of everyone that he's trying to do whatever they can for him, for fight MND, and for everyone else who's out there.
Neil Danaher has been fighting MND for more than 10 years, which is remarkable given the average life expectancy after diagnosis is around 27 months. And that's what we're all here today for, to find a treatment and ultimately a cure.
Perth 6pm News is coming up with Rick Arden. Rick, what's on the program tonight?
Hi Sam, we'll have more exclusive details about the big changes ahead to our freeway. James Carmody explains what you can expect to see soon on your daily commute. Jerry Damasi is in Joondalup as a devastated family meet with hospital staff. They're hoping to get answers over the tragic death of their son. There's an update on the men accused of bashing Girraween grandmother Ninette Simons. We'll tell you what happened today when they fronted court. We've got dash cam capturing the moment a house explodes as police move in. Find out what happened. And there's good news for airline passengers. We'll reveal the fares that are dropping as Qantas announces new staff training on the art of fine wine, Sam. All that and more coming up in 7 News, live at 6.
All right, we'll see you then. Thanks, Rick. 2 American newlyweds have been toasted by presidents at a state dinner in Paris. World War II veteran Harold Terrence is 100. His sweetheart, a relatively young bride at 96. They tied the knot at a town inland from the D-Day beaches in Normandy.
In Normandy, not just a commemoration, but here, a celebration. Harold Terrence, a World War II veteran, marrying the love of his life.
This is probably the most exciting time I've ever had in 100 years of my life.
Love is not only for the young. We still get butterflies.
Terrence proposed to 96-year-old Jeannie Swirlin last year.
All right, come on, newlyweds, time to get you on this aircraft.
The start of their journey in more ways than one. Harold, why choose Normandy to get married?
I'm an emotional guy, and I came to invite the 9,836 kids that are buried on Omaha Beach, and I want them to know that they'll never be forgotten. And that's one of the reasons I've come back.
Harold was just 20 years old and an Army Air Forces corporal when he went to Normandy to help transport newly freed American POWs to England in the aftermath of D-Day. Now, 8 decades later, he's returned with his bride and their families for a moment years in the making.
I now pronounce you man and wife.
Plenty of room for romance and a toast or two, including from global leaders. Yes, those are the newlyweds invited to last night's state dinner with Presidents Biden and Macron.
Félicitations, jeune mariée.
But even on the world stage, there may be no alliance more powerful than this one.
I used to think Romeo and Juliet was the greatest love story. I think our love story is the greatest love story ever.
What a great couple. We've got more showers on the way. I'll have your full forecast for the week ahead coming up next.
Start your day in WA with Sunrise. We're going to take you live now to 7 News reporter James Carmody in Nearabah.
Paul, we're live on Sunrise. Tell us, why are people down here today?
This is taking food off the table of farmers.
The trucks and utes took off about 10 minutes ago. It will cause traffic headaches.
Sunrise with Matt Tinney. 7 News knows Perth.
Headlines flash by all day.
But to know the news, watch 7 News at 6 o'clock.
And here's why.
Our reporters are newsbreakers.
The man in the back of that police car was arrested right here on the side of busy Belia Drive.
With more exclusive reports.
That dig deeper
and demand answers.
We commit to travel to wherever the stories happen, even the front line.
Chris Reason from Channel 7 Australia.
As international news unfolds in Europe,
we're live to you at 6 p.m.
breaking down the global issues that matter back home in Perth.
7 News understands that
our reporters travel from suburb to suburb.
It happened at Point Walter
and across our state to bring you the news.
This show only in Joondalup.
This is the team we trust.
And thank you
for trusting 7 News.
Now, Fuel Watch. Perth's petrol prices brought to you by Fuel Watch and 7 News.
Checking the weather now, we had an overcast top of 20 degrees in the city this afternoon. Looking at the national forecast, showers in Adelaide and Melbourne tomorrow. It's looking wet and windy in Hobart and sunny and 23 degrees in Brisbane. Back to Perth, we're dipping to 14 degrees tonight with a slight chance of a shower. A high chance of showers tomorrow and a top of 20 degrees again. About 4 millimetres of rain is possible on Wednesday as well. It is clearing up Thursday with a top of 19, then mostly sunny and 20 on Friday. And for the weekend, just a shower or two on Saturday, 21 degrees, up to 3 mils of rain Sunday and a shower or two next Monday. And that is Perth's 4 p.m. news. I'm Samantha Jolie. I'll be back with Rick and Ryan for 7 News at 6. The Chase Australia is next.